Hi everyone, I'm Tom from Source Distribution and I'm joined by the mystical hands of Mr. Paul Whittington.
Hello.
We thought we'd get together to have a look at the brand new Mantis synthesizer, which has just landed in the UK. Paul's been hard at work for a really long time to get this one together. They're finally in the country, so we thought we'd sit down, get together and talk about what Mantis is. Paul's a far superior keyboard player to me, so he's going to get kind of jingled on the keys. He also remembers the presets. I don't, I just make stuff up. So yeah, we thought we'd sit down, have a chat, talk about Mantis, talk about, what's been added since it was first shown, and just show off some of the kind of weird and funky things it can do. So Paul, Mantis, we initially showed this Super Booth 2023 in its current form. It was last year, wasn't it, that you showed it?
So last year it was a pre-production unit, so it was pre-voicing, but it was mostly done. There was a sneaky peek a year before that where we had development kit that we were sort of hinting at. The story behind it really is it's a collaboration between myself and the late, great Chris Huggett. And we started this project, well, I don't know, we thought of it probably 3-4 years back now. And those development boards that I spoke of were kind of as far as we got to the point where he sadly passed away. And then since then, I've been working with another programmer, Ben Supper, Dr. Ben Supper, who has inherited Chris's code, and then we've taken it from there, made it suitable for manufacture to run on the design that we've got with slightly different chips here and there. And kind of, Ben's had to kind of go back to the beginning, to the drawing board, and understand all Chris's code and build it back up to where we are now. And it is fully voiced and released.
Awesome.
And that's the story. And to honour Chris, here's my hand, just in this back corner here. We won't move it because we'll spoil the camera angle.
Absolutely will.
But on every unit, there's Chris's signature on the back of there. And for those who don't know, Chris is behind the Wasp and the Oscar synths.
Wasp, Oscar, had a
70s,
bit
80s.
of a history with the Novation team as well.
Yes.
I think
that's where I met him.
That's
So
where
I
you
met him
yeah.
on Mini Nova. In fact, Chris, Ben, and I all worked on the Mini Nova at the time. It was that was my first synth when I joined Novation.
Yeah.
We worked together on that.
So in terms of kind of waspy Oscariness, is it right to assume that it's kind of Oscary oscillator and waspy filter kind of vibe?
It's the other way around.
Sorry,
exactly.
The antithesis. You know what I mean. You know what I meant.
Yeah, the oscillators are derived in a similar way as the Wasp would have been. It's all modern electronics now, but it's where Chris wanted to take that voice generation into the next step, and then we've paired that with the dual filter that, of course, is found on the Oscar that is not really found on very much else, and that's what gives it its unique character. So it's the greatest hits of the two, but then there's some extra PWM-ness that we've added, Ben and I, and around the oscillator generation and the shape. We've done some extra stuff there as well.
Because visually it shares some DNA with Malevolent, and then sonically, am I right in thinking that it's a similar drive?
Well, it's actually quite different because the Malevolent, as you know, is an analog synth.
Yeah.
This is a hybrid, so the oscillators are generated either via tables or calculated at runtime, so they're actually digital, but then everything across the panel here is digitally controlled analog, so the signal then travels through some analog gain staging, but that is Chris's design as opposed to our partners on the Malevolent, which was Future Sound Systems. So it is different, but the what it does share is, which has become a bit of a PWM trademark, is a kind of angriness in the drive. What I like to say is we take the brakes off. We don't like to tame it in any way. If it wants to go loud, we let it go loud.
Absolutely.
And so we've done that here as well. So there is plenty of oomph in the drive.
Cool. So before we get stuck into kind of talking about the individual parts, have you got like a preset that you like to use that shows off any particular part of the synth that you're quite proud of? Is there a, Is there a sound that sort of is the selling sound or the selling preset rather?
I do like preset number 0.
Yeah.
Because it tells you why you want a dual filter.
Yeah.
Because if you just say dual filter, people go, well, what's that? Why is that? Why do I want that? Well, the filter on this sound, which is 00 here, has a talkiness, and that's as a result of 2 resonant peaks moving in and out. And that's quite easy to demonstrate. We've mapped the width of those 2 peaks to aftertouch, so you get this kind of sound, but when you press using aftertouch, you then get you get that yo-yo.
Yeah, you can get that kind of formant-y kind of stuff.
That's sort of a
really
semi-vocal.
Cool. So I noticed there you weren't playing 2 notes. You were playing way more than 2. So I think that's something worth mentioning that changed over the development lifespan.
It's been an evolution. So Chris designed this as a duophonic synth, that it has 2 analog signal paths. But along the way, I had the idea, it was kind of a challenge to Ben, to say, well, can we not split up the oscillators and allow it to play 4 notes in a kind of quad paraphonic manner?
So it's 4 oscillators with 2 discrete analog signal paths.
That was the idea that I had, that you could take oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 and have 2 notes go to each, but then times 2 because of the duophonic voicing. Well, so we went down that route for a while, and at I guess at Superbooth we were still talking about it using the word quad paraphonic, which is controversial anyway. Yeah. Well, when we finally came to it and we'd done all the optimizing of the code and so on, if you could imagine the logic of trying to figure out what voice goes where and what note is played by what oscillator, that proved a more difficult logic problem than we thought, and we had more processor headroom than we thought. So in the end, what we did was just make it a true 4 voice. So we double up everything. So if you think about the actual number of oscillators, per voice you have 1 here, 2, you've then got a sub-oscillator, which is 3, and then the way density works is effectively switching on another oscillator.
Okay.
So you've got 4 per voice. So by the time you put it in quad mode, you're actually running 16 oscillators.
Jesus Christ.
And it is true to say it is a proper 4-voice synth with 2 analog signal paths.
Wow. Okay. That's really impressive.
It's just through working on it and development and where we've ended up. So we're quite proud of that, really, because it's quite unique. And then because of the way it is, you can then configure it in different ways. You can have duophonic with a simplified filter, or you can have quad on where it cascades the filters but allows you to play 4 voices. So there's a few examples of things there that we can show as well.
That is pretty impressive. That is really impressive, especially if you're going to start playing with like the voice spread and stuff like that. You can get like that aftertouch articulation that you were just showing there, the voice articulation and tons of width.
Yes.
Too. That's really, really cool. I think probably then we should start kind of breaking down some of the building blocks.
Should we start with oscillator waves?
Oscillator waves. I mean, in true PWM style, everything's very tastefully outlined, so you know exactly where it is. So
no menu diving.
No menu diving, which I like. I mean, there are a couple of shifts that we've already spoke about. We're going to explain those as we go through the areas. But yeah, if we start at kind of oscillator 1.
Let's do a building block. So the various ways you can start. So you can press init, which will just turn on oscillator 1 with a saw. Straight away, very simple. There are a couple of other ways to start a sound. You can do random, which would be shift and init. You can see that it says random. That will randomise the whole interface.
Oh my God.
You have to press that a few times to find something that you like that works, but that's that. The set params is another way to do it. That will actually take wherever these knob positions are and force them into the sound.
So it's like a panel mode.
Yeah, panel mode.
Okay.
But we'll do init, which means we're now here and we're listening to a saw, but we can go through the waveform shape. So we've got our sine wave there. I can't see wave there. Is it triangle?
Triangle, it is indeed.
Then saw, then square or pulse. This one's interesting. This is a shepherd tone organ, which is an organ that kind of has harmonics that kind of repeats, like an Escher painting to a
Okay,
degree.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then finally, we've put in a 7-segment wavetable of our own cunning design to use for extra sonic variety.
Awesome.
In the sounds. And of course, you've got 2 of those. But
yeah. So in terms of kind of shared controls between the two, wave shape, the shape knob, which we didn't touch on.
Well, that's what we'll have a look at now.
Well, let's have a look at the shape knob, because
Yeah.
this is some shared sort of design ethos from Malevolent. I mean, I know it's implemented differently, but that sort of wave shaping in Malevolent for me was quite a big deal, because it was like, oh, I can wave shape anything.
We've done similar here. I mean, if you think about it, so Malevolent doesn't have a sine wave.
No.
Because it's very hard to do in analog. It's usually a rounded off triangle.
Yeah.
So on this is a proper pure generated sine wave. So you'd think, well, what does shape do on that? So we don't like to have controls that don't do anything if you're in a certain mode. So we've, as a nod toward the Oscar, we allow the shape control on a sine wave to add harmonics. So it's kind of doing a little bit of additive synthesis, if you like. So in this direction, it adds even harmonics. I'll get this the right way around. And in this direction, it adds odd harmonics. So it sounds like this. So that's quite sweet. And of course, you can modulate that.
Yep.
So you can have that attached to an LFO and sweeping if you want to. The Oscar had a way of adding harmonics as well, so that was what sort of led us to that thought. Triangle is a more traditional folding kind of effect. Saw. That's again more shaping. That's changing the pulse.
Oh, it's PWM.
There you go. So in the middle, it's a square. It's a perfect square. Oh, and it has a little detent in the middle, so you can feel a tiny notch there. So you know when you've got pure square. So that way and that way.
It almost cancels out. I prefer synths where it doesn't completely cancel out.
And then on the organ tone, it's again doing that harmonic idea, adding harmonics. And on that, when you go that way, you actually hear it lift the fundamental when you get to the end as well.
Oh, cool. That's a really unusual tone.
Yeah,
you don't really
it's
find.
like drawbars on an organ, but they're kind of pre-selected drawbars.
Yeah. Cool.
If you like. And then on the wavetable, that's going through the 7 segments, so you can hear all the different. You can hear all 7 there.
The interpolation's really nice there.
Yeah,
it's really smooth.
I guess we could. Let's see if this works. It should do. So if I go Oscar one shape, LFO, full on. Slow this right down. That's now doing the sweeping for me.
Yeah. So it's really easy to get. Yes. Yes. So it's really easy to get quite a lot of kind of tonal complexity and movement just from the front end, really.
Exactly. I mean, we haven't stepped outside one oscillator yet, and there's loads to go at there.
Yeah.
Of course, if you then mix those together, the idea, but you could have a pure sine tone, something really smooth sounding, but then whack the wavetable on sweeping on oscillator 2 and combine the two things together.
Yeah.
So lots of sonic possibilities and quite different. You're not going to get this out of a Moog or a Prophet 5 or anything.
I mean,
totally
fundamentally, that's I mean, wave shaping of standard waves is weird enough. You'll get your PWM, you might get a super saw, but sort of adding harmonic content to a sine wave or having that sort of like shepherd tone, as you say, with the organ sound, it's very, very, very unique.
And that's what we've always tried to do. We want our instruments to sound different.
Absolutely.
That's the reason you need to buy it. If you want this sound, you add to your sonic palette, you've got to get it here. You can't get it from
sense. I'm intrigued by these controls. Well, not semitone and scent, I know what those do, but the density is intriguing. So this is exclusive to Oscillator 2.
Yes, it is.
Correct.
Yes.
So what does density do?
Well, we can go and listen to it. It adds another It does add another oscillator. I'm going to have to revert to Ben to tell me exactly how it's combined. There is a complicated explanation to it, which I don't have.
How does it sound?
But let's have a listen to it. So you can hear that extra oscillator coming in, and then you're basically diverging it in tuning from all the way to there. So it's getting fatter and fatter, and if I go to a saw on here as well, tell me when I'm on saw.
You're on it.
So then I've got 2 here, and then I can further detune. That's 2, that's 1, and then with more density. So you can get very quickly to something, go into quad, and you can have quite a big sound. So it's quite a nice fat kind of...
And that works on every waveform?
It does.
Density. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So if you did indeed go to a wavetable...
Yeah, you can hear it going on oscillator 2. There you go. So it's detuning and there's a speed element to it. And
that is cool.
and there's your harmonics. And again, that's just oscillator 2. What have you put? What have we got? Yeah.
Oh, that is very cool. So on the wavetable. Sorry, that was the organ tone I was playing with.
Oh, hello.
That was the organ tone I was playing with there. This is the wavetable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, now we're in my territory. Yeah, that sounds...
And that's still, that's one, again, that's one oscillator. That's just oscillator 2, look, because we turn there.
Yeah. That's really interesting. It's like it's a super saw of any wave, fundamentally. It's like,
yes,
in a very crude sort of sense.
That's right. It was designed around the idea of having a super saw, of doubling up the saws, but we can do it to anything.
That's
so it's
awesome.
even more powerful.
That's absolutely awesome. Yeah, I need to play with that more. I've sort of I've not explored that nearly enough. Sub-oscillator, which is derived from oscillator 1.
It's oscillator 1, an octave lower, and on a sine wave.
Sine wave, fantastic.
And it just follows.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
It's beefy though.
Is it?
It's beefy.
Don't say that and not let me hear it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There you are. Oh, hello. It's there.
Getting into my territory.
The analog staging in this and the chips that we use, which are of Chris's selection, come from, they're called Sound Semiconductor Incorporated, I think.
Yeah.
They're SSI. The 2164s. And we have 3 chips in there. They're quad VCAs. And those are just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful for doing this kind of, the filter drive and the gain staging. It's all done through that. That's why that sounds so damn good. It
has so much, so
loads
much
of presence.
to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oscillator drift.
Oh yes.
What is this?
Just adds. It's a nod towards synths of old. It makes introduces a random element to the tuning of the oscillators.
Wow.
So you can hear it most when you've got both going. It's quite subtle.
No, I can hear that already straight away.
And it will move over time as well.
So it's like age of synth.
That's the idea.
New, old. Oh, that's really
cool.
And
I mean, another thing I'd just like to point out is how good does that sound? And all we've done is turn a few knobs. We haven't gone into half of this. It is a synth on which you'll find it a few knob turns, and you've made an amazing sound.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's worth saving. Should we save? We should save that.
Yeah, can you show me how to do that?
I will. I will. So a neat trick. It introduces a new function as well. So we've got this. So no menus. So how do I know where to save it? I don't want to save over or break one of my sounds, do I? So I'll press save, which flashes. I'll go to bank B.
Yep.
Now what I can do now is listen to what's in these slots. There happens to be nothing, but imagine if you had a load of sounds in there.
You preview the preset.
You would be previewing the one, and then you choose where you want it to go, and then you press save. And it's in. So little trick.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
you never save over one of your favourite sounds,
Oh my
because
God, I've broken
when you're in
so many presets doing exactly that.
Oh, and get this, right, which you don't know. I'm just getting all excited now,
Okay,
aren't I?
go on.
If you hold down Shift, can you see there's some LEDs? You won't be able to see so well on camera, but these LEDs have lit up. There's 3 of them. Those are levels of undo.
Oh,
So
no.
even if you've saved over a sound,
you can undo
it.
How many 3 levels of undo?
10.
Oh
So it's lighting 3 LEDs at the moment because of the number of steps we've done.
Yeah.
So as we build and change and do more and more stuff, you get extra levels up to 10, which is this left column here. And just by pressing Shift and pressing one of those buttons, you can go back.
That is awesome. That's so handy. Oh, why is no?
You didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't know that. That's really cool.
This is the way we love to work, because we work in small teams, and that was a pure Ben. That was like Ben's like, I've had this idea, I could do this. And I'm like, well, that sounds great. I've never known a synth with multiple layers of undo.
Yeah.
He says, I think it'd be quite easy. So
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
I think it's a
that's really cool.
I think it's a killer feature.
That's
I've used
really
it to get
cool.
out of trouble several times.
Yeah.
Because quite often on a synth, you part way through designing something and you quite like where you've got to, and then you continue turning things and you mess it up and you go, oh, I wish I'd stopped 3 steps ago. Well, now you can go back 3 steps.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really, really cool. I had no idea it did that. So we learned something new.
That's good. That's good.
So oscillators, cool, amazing. I love the shape functions and all that stuff. The density, awesome.
Yeah, and the octave controls are quick and easy. That's
Yeah,
nice.
I mean,
and you obviously we've put the tuning on 2 because you're tuning 2 against 1, and then master tunes over here for the whole instrument. That makes it simple.
Makes it nice and simple. I mean, yeah, octave switches. That if I had one criticism of Malevolent,
Well, it's funny. It's a certain Mr. Hartnell mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of octave switches. So
he's done some presets for this, hasn't he?
Just 3 of his little works, but they are
3 amazing ones. I'm sure.
they're in there.
So oscillators, on to mixers. I know there's quite a bit to unpack here. It's
So if you think
way more deep than you would assume.
It's so a lot of synths will have balance. They'll have level controls for the various things. This is a Chris design, and we did want to honour his design elements as much as possible, even though we've built on them and added extra stuff like the additive stuff and some of these other things. But this is his design, and I like it. You could say it's quirky. What you do is you mix between oscillator 1 and 2 at the top. Imagine a flow going this way, going downwards. So you decide which oscillators you want to listen to and you balance between the 2 there. You then, on the left, have just the oscillators, but you could add in noise with a 50-50 balance there and all noise on that side. And then you go down to here and you have what's coming out of those 2 there on the left, and you can add in ring mod.
Okay, cool.
So again, 50-50 or all the way on there. So that's how that
So
works.
it's like a cascading.
So here, to demonstrate, here we go. Oscillator 1, oscillator 2, there's the balance between the 2 of them. Add in noise, or all the way over to noise. Bear in mind the sub is outside of the mixer. So I'll just take that out for a moment. So there's the oscillators, there's the noise. And then down here, this is the ring mod. So down here, it's just the oscillators plus noise. And then there's the ring mod. And you'll hear that as soon as you start doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, I can hear it.
It's all over to that side. And that. And then noise. We've got rave sound.
Sounds very PlayStation 1. I like it. I like it a lot.
We've made a new sound.
You mentioned that there was a shift command in the mixer.
Right. So one of the things that that you might want to do, because there is a heck of a lot of drive in this, and you can get quite tasty in there with when you're building stuff up. We have introduced a patch balance, which is very simply hold down that, and then you can turn that down. So that becomes a volume control.
Okay, cool.
So you can hear that's a lot quieter and a lot louder. So that's a patch balance.
So when you're making presets and you need to
Yeah.
get balance between the 2.
Yeah. And then
nice.
on the noise control, if we go all the way over to noise and listen to that, if I just use the hold function for a minute, what I'm going to do, I won't talk over this, I'll do it, is I'm going to turn this down using shift, and what that does is it reduces the noise density, so it becomes granular.
Is it kind of like a bit crush for the noise? Well, let's hear it, let's hear it. Don't let me spoil it.
Okay, let's do it. So here we go.
Oh, cool.
So it almost goes into Geiger counter territory.
Yeah.
Or a record scratch.
Yeah, that's really
something.
cool. I mean, that kind of adding noise to... oh, cool.
Oh, you're mixing now. Yeah, you're mixing.
Yeah.
There you go.
That is awesome.
See, we could have gone for...
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the hold on. Yeah. We could have gone for... we could have gone for just simple level, but we didn't. We went for that kind of density because it's being generated by a random number, so you reduce the frequency of that and you get that kind of interesting effect. Again, I doubt you'll find that on much else.
That's the kind of stuff that I add to bass sounds in the mix to get them to just lift out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I need to have I need to have a really proper good play with this. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. That's really, really cool. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's got my brain going for some preset design now. So, cool. I need to get stuck in.
Yes, Tom Lewis sound pack available soon.
Yeah, maybe. I doubt anyone will like what I make. So, LFOs then.
Yeah.
These are different as well.
They're very feature-rich.
Yeah, so...
This is a Chris thing here, which allows them to fade in or fade out. Mm-hmm. We have had some requests for them to do both. We're thinking about that, because that could be a future feature. I mean, we keep developing all the time.
Yeah,
so there will be more to come. It's not, this isn't where it stays. But yes, lots of waveform types. When you assign the LFOs, there's an amount. So if you assign them to shape or pitch or whatever.
So these effectively become like the
they're the amounts.
Inverters,
They go positive and negative. Mm-hmm. So because of that, when it comes to I'll just lean a little bit. There are two different shapes of the saw wave for the LFOs.
One that's bigger and one that's smaller.
One that starts negative and goes all the way to positive and loops. One that starts in the middle and then goes up and then goes down and then goes back to the middle.
So it's a shark and a saw, isn't it? Because a shark's like that and a saw's the other.
We try to convey that in the symbols. I think it makes some sense.
Yeah,
and the reason those two are different is, of course, if you do a saw, there's no point in doing a saw up and a saw down because all of these are bipolar. So if you were to turn that negative, it would become a saw down.
Anyway. Yeah.
So that's why we've gone for different start points on those.
Oh,
and
that's
then
cool.
You've then got the square, and then that final one is a random.
Do like a good sample and hold.
Which is quite fun. They are rate controls, of course, and they are syncable.
So when they're synced, it's just time divisions of an incoming clock.
Correct.
And it auto detects clock.
It does. So if you press sync now and you're using the ARP, they'll sync to the ARP. Mm-hmm. If you throw clock at it through its MIDI clock, which will receive through the standard MIDI DIN or through the USB, then it will just detect that and start going. And if you throw two at it, you can't confuse it. It'll just take the first one.
Yeah,
and there's like a timeout before it drops that one and picks up
that's cool.
another one.
USB-C as well, isn't it?
It is.
On the back as well, yeah.
And bus power.
This bus powers as well?
This bus powers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I knew Malevolent did. I didn't know this. Oh, that changes things.
They both do. So you can take it out with a USB power bank.
This might be coming on the train with me next week.
you can fully do that. I've run it for a day or more on my power bank.
I had no idea it bus powered as well. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. See the things you learn when you talk to people.
Yes, that's right. Now, another thing about these, you can turn them into one shot.
Oh, so they effectively become like envelopes, like a decay envelope.
Because this is a Chris thing here in the envelope section, which we'll come on to, but these can be repeated, which kind of makes them LFO-like. Yep. So in a similar way, we decided that we'd make these have the ability to go one shot.
So how do you achieve that?
You press shift. Those LEDs go off, you see, and then when you light them holding shift, they're in one shot mode.
Oh, I want to use an expletive, but I'm not going.
So you've effectively got 4 envelopes now, as it were, and if you turn those one-shots off and turn those repeats on, you've effectively got 4 LFOs. So you can have any, but they're different. Of course.
Yeah, of course.
But you can do any combination of those.
Wow,
that's quite neat.
That is seriously cool. That is seriously cool. That totally passed me by, that feature.
And a question that I've had asked before is, what does random do in one-shot mode?
Oh, what does it
do? I'll try and do a quick demo of it if you like. So if we map oscillator 1 pitch to LFO, well, we'll use 2 and full on. Turn the pitch up a bit. I'll just turn some of this down, sweeten it a bit. Sounds a bit overdriven, doesn't it? Let's turn that down a bit.
I quite liked it.
So there's the pitch mod. So of course we could have it in there. That's random mode. So that all makes sense, doesn't it? But then if you put it in one shot, does it make sense anymore? Well, yeah. Because now every time you press a key, you get a random note. Because it's only firing the LFO once, so it's a one shot.
It's a sample and hold that's being triggered by the keyboard. Yeah, it's not being triggered by the clock anymore. It's being
Exactly. So
that's really cool for resonant filter stuff, and I want to have a play with that in a minute. Yes,
because you could apply that to in here, couldn't you, and have all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned the filter.
Yes.
We should talk about this because it's really bloody good.
There's a lot going on in this.
Yeah, it's quite a thing, and it's. I mean,
that's a good sound to demo it on because it's quite rich. So I mean, it's just basic concepts, right? So low pass filter, nice and smooth, with resonance. Ooh. You can hear it just driving a bit. Let me shut this down. And that's all natural in analog, so it's the kind of drive you want, kind of thing. And extreme, this will probably hurt people's ears, be forewarned. It's going to hurt our ears. And there's this
that lowest fundamental is crazy. I don't know if that will come over on the video particularly well, but that is really cool.
And the nod to Nick Batt for the sing-song harmonics, which are in there.
Yeah, that is nice. That is really nice.
And then drive. That's where your low one is. That's the brown trouser department.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, so you've got loads of different filter modes in here.
Yes.
And mention of duophonic. So how does that affect how the filters are kind of address the duophonic mode? So low pass 12, band pass 12, and high pass 12. You should be able to see on the camera. You've got this duophonic attribution there, or legend there.
Yes. So the filter types themselves, these are so the 12s they are both running, both filters, but they're in parallel at that point, which is why you can use the width and the Twin Peaks thing. They're put in series to create the 24 dBs, and then these two are a couple of extra things, which I really should refer to my information to explain them properly. However, so the different ways of using them. So if you use them like that in a mono mode or in quad mode without the duophonic on, you've got access to all those filter types. When you put duo on, it actually separates the filters and puts one on each of the signal paths with a stereo spread.
Oh, wow.
But you've only got access then, because they're not in parallel series anymore, they're actually separate.
Yeah.
Separate channels. You then just have the top three.
Yep. Okay.
Access to the top three.
Oh, okay. I get it.
But that's where if you, again, two notes in duo, you can hear the notes moving. That's one in each ear, basically.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then out outside of duo mode. That's kind of mono. But if you start doing with stuff, then you can hear the split of the two filters that way, because they're both operating at the same time. And that applies to quad too. So you get some rather interesting stereo effects even outside of duo mode by moving the two filters about.
Yeah. And you can, so obviously you've got voice spread, and then you've got width mod as well.
Yes.
So you can get like some really gnarly kind of stereo stuff
can.
going
This is
on
probably a good point to bring in Beach Dazed, my favourite preset. Oh, hang on a minute, A09, because this kind of says it all, and it's quite a performable thing. I'm going to start with some noise. Pan across to the oscillators.
I like that a lot.
Shows it all going on. So there's all sorts of things happening there with a nice sort of pitch-based effect, obviously from an LFO, but it's showing the voice spread, even though that's not even in duophonic mode. That spread is occurring because of the two filters being positioned in the stereo spectrum.
So there's a lot of opportunity for, like, as I was saying, like really rich, wide stuff. That's that's really interesting. That's really, really interesting.
And again, quite unique.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on this that is unique. You won't find it on other synths.
There was one thing I'm just gonna initialize this sound.
Yep.
So I always wanted this as a feature. So
you can do it.
You can do it. You were saying it's a MIDI CC.
Yeah, so it's a good point to talk about that, isn't it? So because this is a digitally controlled analog, every single control on here is sending out MIDI as you use it, and that includes these. So that is, I can't remember which particular command, but that is selectable. You can send a MIDI to it, and you could have it dance about between all the different types or cycle through or whatever.
Yeah, because on the front panel you've got that way only.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming with MIDI you can...
You could just select any, because they're each selectable values. Every single move on here, including the position switches and all the knobs.
Even the ARP position switch you can hit with a CC.
See, you've asked me now and I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure you can.
We'll put a note in the
If we had a MIDI monitor, we'd look. I have a MIDI implementation table for it, so we can look in there. But yeah, the idea was that you could control the whole thing in real time.
Are they sending CCs?
They're sending, yes.
So if you wanted to kind of recall a performance of knob turns,
I mean, if
or
you
use it as a MIDI controller for something
else.
You know,
you could.
Yeah.
It's great with a DAW because, as well as being a great synth on its own, because it's got local off, it's got selectable MIDI channels.
Okay.
And then, so you can put it on a track and have it play to the DAW and then the DAW play back, so you can have other instruments. Then because these are sending MIDI, like you say, you can MIDI learn them in a virtual instrument.
Yeah.
But of course, everything you do on this, when you're in record mode, it's going to record every movement.
See, I'm a big fan of that, because I tend to use my DAW as a tape machine and then just sort of like live jam my synth into it. And occasionally I'll be trying to do a transition, let's say on the mixer amount, and I'll screw it up on the take, but I'll be like, I could just fix it.
Yeah, you can just go and find the lane and draw it if you want to. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you put that in. Though.
We did it just for you, because you asked for it really earlier. Yeah. Well, the idea was to have absolutely everything controllable over. Yeah. So I mean, I'm scratching my head. I haven't specifically seen that one, but I'm pretty sure that
if it's there, we'll put it in the comments below, and if it's not, we'll try and make it happen.
Yeah. Well, we can. It should do. Yeah. The idea was to say that everything is controllable.
Yeah. Cool.
Via MIDI. Why not?
Envelopes.
Right.
So, ADSRs, we've already mentioned that they can loop, but they also have this sustainful feature, which I know was a Chris thing as well, wasn't it?
It's a Chris thing. based on the idea that nothing in nature really goes on forever.
Yeah.
You know, particularly piano, strings, anything like that, really. So the idea is that you have attack, you have decay, then sustain, of course, is a level. But rather than have that level be flat, sustain fall allows it to just taper off naturally as you're holding the key down.
So it's sort of like a release.
It's a pre-release release.
I was just about to say a pre-release release.
It's a release before you've released the key.
Yeah, okay.
If you like. It's an extra thing that Chris really liked, and we've kept that in the design.
Well, it allows you to get. I was playing with this a little bit before you got here. It feels like it gives you extra control around the looping quality of the envelopes as well. You can sort of stretch them out a bit longer than just moving the attack and decay phases. It feels like you can make them smooth off. It's quite interesting what you can do with the looping. I'm really into the concept of function generators. Which is like, you know, there's a looping envelope effectively.
Yeah.
And you can get some really interesting stuff when these are synced and these are not. You know, and it's like, well, it should be around the other way. You catch my drift. It's you can do some really, really cool stuff with that. And it's again, it's another feature that you don't find
elsewhere.
It's it's really interesting. Can we just have a quick listen if I do a quick initialized
you go
thing?
for it.
So
you should be able to knock something up. Well, so that the top envelope is mapped to amplitude, just by default. Also, both envelopes have velocity in there as well. So rather than faff about or waste a mod route, you just turn the velocity up if you want to have that triggerable from the keys.
So, gotcha. It is a pre-release release. Cool. Yeah, and I mean that could. You can get like hyper plucky with that.
You can get snappiness out of it, yeah.
It's almost like a snap control in my mind.
All of these controls have been quite heavily designed as well to be performable. We like to always say PWM makes instruments. It's not like that is a linear thing, because we're in the digital realm. We've got, you know, useful values at around about 12 o'clock. We've got real fine detail down the left, turning it anti-clock to get detail in at the sharp end.
So it's not doing like a smooth,
and then
a super smooth curve. It's
and then to the right we've got very long tails. So still round here you can get up to, I can't remember exactly, but quite a few seconds out on the release on that side, but yet still dial in fractional amounts on the short side.
That's super clever. The way my brain is seeing that is it's like wavetables for the release. It's like different snapshots of function, effectively. So that's that.
Well, we've thought about how you would use those controls and how they ought to feel in use. So, I mean, I've mentioned it here. I mean, what we really want is no one to even know, just to use them, and that feels great. I've got all sorts of values on there, and not even realise how the sausage is made. But I'm here to tell you.
Never look inside a Greg's sausage roll.
I'm here to tell you there's a lot of thought gone into the design of all the timings and the positions of the knobs on those.
That's really, really cool. So had no idea. My bad. Effects, since we're going from left to right.
Yes.
By Gumbo, you've got some effects.
So we do come back in on the digital side for these. These are done on the DSP. It's Chris's design of both. They are quite simple. They're designed to add flavour to your sound. They're not designed to be a super high quality Valhalla in the studio, whatever. So that's not it at all. They're designed to just add flavour to the sound. The reverb is in mono.
I've made it snappy.
That's all right.
Let me go for your
just pick any.
0, 0 for your...
That'll do, just so you can hear it. But it's just there and nice for you to use. You know, again, thinking of it as an instrument, if you're going to take it out and play it, you just want a bit of reverb on there. Chorus is quite nice. There's different depths of chorus these are effectively, and an amount. So a sort of richness in 4 presets there. But that, so it can be quite subtle like that, or quite crazy like that. And then the reverb, of course. 9 times out of 10, that's kind of all you need. And we have got some filtering on there as well, so they don't get too muddy.
Yeah.
There's a high pass and a low pass filter. The low pass has a couple of settings on it. which you can see by half lit LED and a full brightness.
I really like.
If you go all the way over here, it's quite springy.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it reminds me of the spring reverb in my music easel.
Which is very in keeping with the whole idea of the vintage element of, well, what PWM make, what we make, and particularly this synth. It's in keeping with the synth, I think. It's quite nice. And of course you can have plenty of time to it as well. It even has a little bit of pitchiness to it.
Yeah, it's kind of tapey.
Spooky pitchiness.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's fun to be had there as well, and again quite unique.
Yeah, yeah.
So designed to be.
I like the way the chorus is implemented. It's like intensities. That's like really nice, because a lot of the time, I don't know if you find this with choruses, you're playing with the knobs and you're like, I don't like any of these.
Yeah.
Like, all of this is bad. So to just be able to go, that one,
perfect.
It's like, yeah, fine.
You're done.
Subtlety achieved. You
Yes,
know?
exactly.
And if you do need to get any kind of more gnarly kind of chorusing stuff, I guess you've got that all in the density.
Well, you can go there, yeah.
You know, you're sort of probably a bit overkill to have that.
But that, of course, is occurring in a stereo manner as well, so that's you know, nice.
Yeah. Modulation, then.
Yes.
I'm a really, really, really big fan of how this is implemented. How did this kind of layout come around? Was this a Chris thing again, or
This was a bit of both of us, because we wanted it to be simple. Again, we didn't want to call it a modulation matrix. It's I mean, which effectively it is. We just wanted it to be dead simple, which is why we called it mod roots. There are effectively 6 things you can modulate here, and for every one of these buttons you will find a corresponding amount knob on the interface above. Okay. So the roots are set up all the time. They're mapped to they have to be mapped to something, but that doesn't matter because you can turn the amount down. So the way to think of this really is, this is the thing I would like to control. So I'd like the filter cutoff to be modulated by an LFO and brought in by aftertouch, for example. Or I would like filter width to just come on, so full on, but I want my joystick X direction to do that.
And that's where the bobble comes in.
There you go. And then you can map that to the joystick.
So you can have 2 discrete.
So it's press, 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 and you've mapped a route. Bring in the amount. Go. It's that easy.
So you've got joystick X and Y. So you could have the filter width and the filter cutoff all mapped.
Yes, you can.
Here.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And
then the aftertouch.
There is a sound to demo that, but I can't remember where it is in the 100 presets. And just a note on that joystick as well. So the joystick has 2 modes. That's what that mode thing is. So the joystick is mapped into the modulation roots all the time. But this mode thing is a kind of traditional joystick mode, which gives you pitch bend and modulation. You can change the pitch bend amount by holding that down, pressing that. You can go all the way up to whatever you choose. And then that modulation is actually a completely separate digital LFO that is applied, so it doesn't get in the way of anything that's going on here. That was for simplicity's sake, but if you just turn that off, then obviously that's now just performing what you've got.
I was just about to ask, because if you did assign filter cutoff and filter width as an example to those 2 axes on the joystick, how do you get rid of the pitch and mod? And that's
cutoff
exactly
mod and width mod. If we did a cutoff full on X and width full on Y. Now try the joystick. You've got exactly what you asked for. So that's exactly what you asked for, and I just pressed a few things and it's done.
Yeah.
And then of course save that in a sound, and you've got that. And that's no longer then doing pitch bend and mod, but you can do both. That will actually do both at the same time.
That's really cool.
Just by turning that on or off.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. That's super good. That's super good. Yeah, I need to have a really...
And, you know, no menus, no messing about. It's just press, press, press. That is that times that, and then an amount.
Yeah.
Which is here, cutoff mod, width mod, shape, pitch mod.
Awesome.
Easy.
There was one thing I wanted to talk about as well, which was glide auto.
Oh yes.
I'd like to know what that means.
Okay. Best to demo. So if we put glide on. So there's glide. It glides between each note. Sensing this is just a little. I don't know if it's clipping. That's better.
We're good.
It's all right. If you turn auto on, it will only glide when you play legato.
Okay.
In other words, one note overlaps another. So if I play individual notes, it no longer glides. But if I play a note before releasing that one up, just turn chord off. So that's legato or that. And that's what auto glide is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And that's respecting the glide mount, isn't it, as well? That's really cool because, how the glide's implemented in the Malevolent is really interesting as well. Where it's like that glide
That's
on
a performable
stick.
glide on a stick.
Yeah. So I was really interested to see how you'd implemented on this because, as I've said to you before, that took me. I was like, how does this work? For like about 15 seconds, and I went, oh, it's just on a stick, and it's kind of a different implementation. It's really, really clever though.
It is.
Yeah, that auto glide. Does that respect just the key on off? So if the envelope's longer, or is it taking that into consideration?
No, it's not related to envelopes.
So it is just digesting the key presses and acting accordingly. That's clever.
Yeah.
That's clever. And then the only thing we haven't spoke about is the ARP, which again, the Malevolent had a really clever arpeggiator implementation with the different sort of shift modes. Has that sort of been replicated here as well?
It has, because all of those modes, there are 6 on the Malevolent, and those are the same 6 on there. It's just they're on a dedicated control this time. So if we turn it on, we can use hold. We didn't speak about hold, but that's
so
the
is
same.
It still momentary?
Yeah,
so
same as the Malevolent. So you've
click and flick.
That's it. You press it down to switch between momentary and latched.
Yeah.
And so we use latched because then we can go like that. And then you can hear that's the up mode, down mode, up down, up down with a repeated top and bottom note. The order in which the notes are played. Sorry. That demonstrates it, yeah. I had to play notes in an order that actually demonstrates. And then random, which will pick. And then, of course, octaves and BPM. And then clock divisions. And additionally on this, we've got swing.
It's my favourite arpeggiator control.
And negative swing. It's a bit nuts. Tap tempo. Which doesn't seem to be. Which isn't
Is it because
working.
you've already started it?
Maybe.
But it's there.
It's there.
It's there. That's really awesome. There's a lot of stuff I've just discovered here just by having a quick chat with you that I didn't know was hold on. That I didn't know was under the hood.
Well, there's one more thing to show you in ARP mode.
Go on.
I'm going to try and demonstrate it. So this is a Chris invention, and it's a duophonic ARP mode where
do you need the latch on?
I can't see if the LEDs are on. Is that? That's
It's on now. Yeah.
Right. So you basically hold that down and play a chord, and then now if you want to change the chord, you do that. So that's kind of interesting.
So that's why that's called set arp, isn't it?
Yes,
So
that's why it says set arp underneath. So just for duo mode, you can then use the stick to change chord and then play over the top with the other voice.
That's really, really cool. That's really cool. Again, I don't think I've really seen that on anything else. That's really interesting.
That was a Chris invention that we've worked on to make work fully in here.
That's really cool. So to play us out, is there one sound that you absolutely love that you want to show us? Or you can do some.
I suppose I should have one ready. I don't, because I've played you my favourite one already.
Well, shall we do random a few times?
Yeah, go for it. Just pick some
Shift,
stuff
and then.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, okay, all right.
You pick a patch at random. Or, you can,
I like that one.
Oh, hello.
One more. What's this one?
Nice. Leads, basses, and chords.
And chords.
And chords, there are chords.
I didn't expect to hear that.
Polysynth. Oh. An unexpected polysynth.
An unexpected polysynth.
Because that is really...
That's 04, right? I'm going to write that down. That's a good one. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for explaining it to me, Paul.
You're welcome.
And helping me discover new things that I didn't know it could do. It's really, really cool. It's really,
Excellent.
really cool. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this. Yeah, they're in the UK now. So check out your favourite retailers. They should have them in stock. Paul, thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.